if you guys are looking to possibly live in Queenstown, New Zealand for working holiday visa or just a base on a tourist visa for a bit, this is the video for you. We're gonna dive into everything from finding housing here, finding work, buying a 15-year-old car in the used car market here, to what kind of the cost of living is as far as food goes, and different activities to do in this area, which we've experienced through our 8+ months here. Brian here.
Trini.
So I'm from the USA, from the New York area.
Where am I from?
Buenos Aires, Argentina. Is that good pronunciation?
Something like that.
So we're gonna dive into these questions here today. 10+ questions to hopefully answer all of your questions about whether you should spend a good amount of your time here when coming to New Zealand. Basically, we chose to live here in Queenstown, New Zealand because we were both really like the mountains and that outdoor nature and beauty. So question number one, how has it been finding work here? Trini, how's it been finding work here?
Easy peasy.
Piece of cake?
Piece of cake. Piece of cake.
cake.
People say that it's really hard to get a job in Queenstown, that it's very competitive, blah, blah, blah. And it might depend on the season, if it's low season or high season. And when we arrived here in March, it was like the end of the high season of summer. Maybe I got lucky. I only took 2 weeks to get a job. And then through the year, I saw many posts in SIG, and sometimes there's more opportunities, sometimes less. Now that I can see that we're starting to get into summer, I see most advertisements of jobs.
So we're in November right now. So if you're from the Northern Hemisphere, you're like, what, summer? Because it's actually different by y'all up there. We're flipped down here in the Southern Hemisphere. But someone who's from Latin America speaks Spanish as their first language. What's your perspective on finding a job if English is your second language?
Some people advertise this working holiday visa experience as go to New Zealand or go to Europe or go to Australia. If you don't speak English, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. But if you're actually trying to get a job in a touristic hub, you might need a little bit of English to thrive. You can survive with no English maybe, but probably working in a farm. And most of the jobs in Queenstown are related to tourism. So that means that you're working in hospitality. You do need to speak a little bit of fluent. But Kiwi, maybe because of the market is not so big, they're not that strict.
How has it been finding housing here?
All right, so just a few days here in Frankton by Queenstown here in New Zealand, and we are on the house hunt.
I remember reading a while back that, oh my God, we're not gonna find housing in Queenstown. It's so hard, people living in tents. It's tough, but actually there's a ton of places being listed. We ended up living by the airport in Frankton, the 5 Mile area, and there's also Remarkables Park. And then now we find ourselves in Jack's Point. Thanks to Trini, we found both of our places through either going on WhatsApp for the first spot and then Trade Me for the second spot. And where else can you also look for housing?
Marketplace and WhatsApp group.
Facebook groups and our Facebook Marketplace. We got lucky in the beginning through WhatsApp in our first spot in 5 Mile in Frankton. We were there for a few months. Then we moved here. How's today's hike? Exploring Jack's Point.
I won't tell anyone about my happy place.
We found it with our nice Kiwi roommate here through Trade Me in Jack's Point. So whether you're a couple like we are, or whether you're single, whether you're open to living with many people or less, there are options. I think it does depend on what time of year you come. We come in March.
So we moved out from the other place we only had 3 months, and we had to move out in July 7th.
Yeah.
We were freaking out about trying to find a place in the middle of winter. So we decided to break that lease earlier and then move out in June 15th.
Yep.
But then we saw that there were still listing places in the middle of the winter season. So again, people say that it's so hard to get a job, to get a house, blah, blah, blah. But if you're working for it and trying to find things, you'll find something.
buying a car. So if you want to get out of this tourist hub here, the Orbis bus system is good. We've talked about it before, that they go from like the Frankton 5 Mile Maracaibo Park airport area to Arrowtown, Arthur's Point, out here to Hanley's Farm and Jack's Point, Queenstown. But if you want to go further than that, you need a car.
Yeah, and frequency, it's like every 30 minutes or every hour.
Yeah, so it's not great. So we ended up going in the car game here. That was like a musical chairs. Here at the Pack and Save, waiting to check out our first vehicle. All right, on the car hunt here in Queenstown and going to see car number 2. All right, so we're testing out a new car here. All righty, so just saw the 4th car there here in the Queenstown area. All right, so basically over the last 4 days, we looked at 5 different cars. All righty, so today here in the Queenstown Frankton area, we saw our 9th vehicle showing. That's right, 9th vehicle. And it seems like overall, you're gonna not really find the best vehicles, if you will, kind of the least dirty, short in the laundry. We saw like 12 or 15 cars. We ended up with a Mazda Demio. Well, that's it right there behind me. We are the new proud owners of a Mazda Demio 2007. And yeah, it's time to learn how to drive stick shift, except for the first time it's going to be on the complete opposite side of the road. A clown car, my perspective, coming from the States, because we're used to bigger vehicles.
It works.
This is small,
And it's super
but it
fuel
works.
efficient.
It is fuel efficient. We looked at a ton of Nissan Titas. They're all over the place here. And I would say in this like secondary car market, a lot of cars here from Japan, nothing's manufactured. They're all imports. There's a lot of older cars, especially if you're in the backpacker community. You're buying a lot of 10, 15, 15-year-old cars.
Reliable,
Hondas.
mostly Japanese car.
They all have different problems. Here, if you let it go for a second, it keeps pulling to the left. We picked the least dirty short in the laundry, if you will, with this Mazda Demio. Yes, I can't drive stick shift. It's on the store for another day. This is a manual car that we have. Trini drives all the time. If you get it to the market, we paid about 5,000 Kiwi for it. It's about $3,000 USD for a 15-year-old car, roughly. Everything works, no frills, but it'll get you around. How are the Kiwi people in New Zealand?
Well, trying not to stereotype. If you find a Kiwi, make a wish, because in this area, it's very hard. At least for me, it was hard to find Kiwis because we're mostly foreigners living in Queenstown.
It's very touristy, and you'll find even less of the First Nations people, the Maori people. I always mess up the pronunciation of that name. Most of them are on the North Island. So if you do come to Queenstown, expect to not get as much of the local vibe. It's more so some locals, maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10%, mixed with many foreigners coming and going, and many working holiday visa people like Trini.
Wait, we didn't respond how they are.
Oh, yeah.
So without trying to stereotype them, because we haven't met many, it seems like they're very reserved, but once you're more comfortable with them and you have more trust, they're more open and they make jokes and they have this, like, it seems like closer to the British humor, more sarcastic, whatever. Very different from Americans, that's for sure. And they're funny and nice. And of course, some other people are just humans that are more serious. And they also have a very funny accent. Can you pass me a pen?
So number 5, favorite food or drink. For me, having went and studied abroad in 2009 in London, having lived working holiday visa in Australia and Sydney in 2019 and 2021, overall I would say that as far as the food and drink goes, they're very similar. You get the Tim Tams here, you've got the coffee scene here, you've got the meat pies here. Maybe there's more Kiwi options for the fruit, but otherwise nothing crazily different for me, although I'm sure Kiwis would object.
There's something that nobody has, and it's cookie time.
Yes, cookie time.
And Kiwi Gold, or
And Kiwi
Gold
Gold
Kiwi, and
fruit.
Red Kiwi. There's
Yes.
a Red Kiwi.
Yes. And we also want to mention the Maori food, which we haven't experienced, which I've Googled, and is mostly a lot of fish-based food that you might expect from some of the Polynesian countries. And then, of course, everything else you might find from the USA, they've imported that stuff here as well. Hey everyone, thanks so much for making this far in the video here today. If you're enjoying this video, check out the New Zealand playlist here. There's a ton of more videos of our experience exploring around, especially in the South Island here, while we base in Queenstown, New Zealand. If you're getting a ton of value, smash the like button, possibly subscribe as well, or maybe even send it off to a friend who maybe would want to join you in coming here to New Zealand to do working holiday visa, or just coming here on a holiday and plan on making Queenstown one of your stops along the way. Now, let's get back to the video. Number 6, what is the favorite thing about living in Queenstown, New Zealand?
Security, because we live in the bubble of the bubble of the bubble. So New Zealand seems to be like a bubble, but there's some crime and some people break in the cars or the houses, whatever, mostly in the North Island. But Queenstown in general, it's still pretty safe. And we also live in this rural area, Jack's Point, that feels more like a bubble. But in the morning, you turn on the car and you just leave it there and nobody's going to judge anything. And the car, it's open and on.
Yeah.
Somebody could just
Steal it.
Yeah.
I also think it's absolutely beautiful. It looks like a painting outside here with the Remarkables view, as well as going over to the Lake Wakatipu, and the sheep, the cows, all those things are really cool because Trini grew up in the city. I grew up outside of New York City. So we both are kind of more urban people. So being out here in the rural area by all the pastures and stuff is pretty cool. And it's chill life. The thing you don't like about living in Queenstown.
Sometimes maybe it's too quiet. We could have changed that if we were living in town with all the rest of the 20-year-old people boozing and partying all the time.
Yep.
But we didn't want that, and I wanted the peace, and I wanted the change of scenery because I come from a big city, and this was like, oh yeah, I'm living by the mountains with all the nature. I might even become vegetarian because I'm loving the sheep around.
Yes.
I cannot eat lamb anymore.
So it's a balance. So yes, you can be bored, but we chose to live here as well. So for me, I think that there's not anything crazy I don't like about Queenstown because I've been in New Zealand before and I kind of knew what to expect. I think if we were living here long term, I would get bored at sometimes. Maybe have less community and less access to things. Yes, you can get Amazon here, you can get DHL, you get deliveries and stuff, but maybe it takes longer, a little more expensive because we are an island nation at the bottom of the world. But overall, life is good. We can't complain too much. Is it possible to save money here in Queenstown?
That depends on the type of lifestyle you want to live. If you want to go partying all the time and going out to bars, eat out, whatever, every single weekend, you won't save a penny because everything's expensive. Like in one night, you can spend up to $200. If you live
like we do,
very cheaply and on a budget, not going out much and just going to the supermarket. But we do buy a lot of things in the supermarket though. It's like, It's not that we live eating rice or noodles. We buy a lot of fruit and vegetables and wine occasionally, whatever. In my case, I'm able to save because I also have a decent job with a good pay rate.
Trini's a good example working here, working on a visa. So it depends on what job you get, but she has a base salary plus the commission. But I think if you're like middle ground and more frugal like us because we want to enjoy hikes, which aren't too expensive, or save money here to go travel after New Zealand, you could save money. Yes, I think Queenstown's more expensive, like when I lived in Vail, Colorado, versus if you lived in maybe Christchurch or Wellington or Auckland. And what else?
And also, if you're single, you're going to spend more money for sure because rent is more expensive.
Yeah.
And you spend at the very least $300 to $350 per week on rent. When you're in a couple, you spend $200 to $250 a week.
I know when I was single and lived in Australia and I was with a ton of other people, all those things added up, whether it was your rent, your utilities, your food, all those things, because you're shouldering or paying it by yourself.
To give a number, you can actually save, depending on your lifestyle, at the very least, 1,000 to 1,600 Kiwi a month.
Favorite activity so far in this area in Queenstown? What would you say?
We don't do anything.
Yeah, so we haven't done a ton of stuff here. I think most people who come here would go and do the skydiving, which I've done before back in Portugal, or to go do bungee jumping, which neither of us are interested. A lot of people go do skiing, which I couldn't do because of my knee, as well as we're gonna go hiking. I think it's the most we're gonna do here. It's a little more cost efficient. So I think that for us, we came here to make some money, live chill lifestyle, go out in town a little bit, maybe go hiking. The biggest ticket item we did go do is Milford Sound. Which we did through Trini's past employer. So we saved money on that. Yep, you go to the beach or the lakes, you can go in the mountains, you could do a big road trip. Like we went to Mount Cook National Park.
This is the perfect country to do road trips because the roads are beautiful.
Number 10, are there affordable gyms here in Queenstown? Can you answer that?
I don't know, you tell me.
And how many times have you done buddy pump?
Kitty, kitty.
Zero, because she's chose to not join the gym here, but that's her prerogative. So the gym's here in the Queenstown, Frankton area. So basically, I ended up looking at Remarkables Park and 5 Mile in Frankton.
And we're off to the gym. So I'll take you guys along today to show you what the Queenstown Event Center here is like. I'll show you guys around quick, but the main things for me and the reason why this gym is so good is, one, there's no starting fee. There's also no key fee, and there's no departure fee. So basically you kind of just rock up. You can pay what I did for the short one, which is just 2 weeks, re-ups every 2 weeks, and you got to give them, I think it's like 2 weeks notice to break it basically. Overall, it comes up to like $60 US a month. And if you're living here in the Frankton area, it's really walkable, which is sweet. So you got these kind of soccer fields here, airport just behind me there.
They have a pool, they've got workout classes, they've got gym area, and all the things you can need as far as that goes. Highly recommend it. I'll do the link down below. I went there for about 4 or 5 months, really enjoyed it. Number 12. So is Queenstown similar to somewhere else you live? So if you all been made it this far in the video, you know that Trinity was here before in the video, but we actually had it cut. The battery died, so I'm finishing the video out for y'all today. So I know for Trinity, she grew up most of her life in Buenos Aires, Argentina. For her, going down to Ushuaia or going to Bariloche is most similar to here. For myself, I was really fortunate to live in Vail, Colorado for a bit, and then Denver for about 2 years, and then travel up to the mountains. So it's most similar to Colorado, I'd say. Biggest difference here is you don't have that high alpine, high altitude environment. It's a lot lower altitude here. Therefore, which I really like, you don't have to deal with snow on the street.
Actually getting snow here, crazy.
Kind of digging your car in the morning and all that jazz. It's only up in the peaks up there, which is nice. I think you have the best of both worlds. Number 13, do we plan on staying in Queenstown for the entire working holiday visa? The answer would be yes, we do. Why is that? So basically for us, we really like hiking. You could go to the North Island and experience different climates up there. But for us, we wanted to come here, base in the mountains, have a beautiful environment here, and get to know one spot more deeply. And it's also easier if you want to have job continuity. So Trini has been in 2 different jobs in her time here in Queenstown, in a motorhome rental company and now in a car rental company at the airport. And I think it's a lot easier to kind of do that. I do know many people, like when I lived in Australia working holiday visa, where they bounced around different parts of the country, just picked up odd jobs here and there. That's popular as well. Many people do that. They might be on the farm, kind of chasing the seasons, or maybe they want to start in Auckland, then maybe go to Wellington, then come down here to Queenstown. So you have many different options. But for us, coming to one spot, kind of doing one long-term lease, or we did 2 leases here, and having less moving parts made it easier. And I think it was really good for us. It might be good for you too. Number 14, what's next for us? Well, you'll have to check out in the future videos and see, because honestly, we're not really sure. And I also think you'll like these videos here. The top video being our experience renting a Star RV motorhome and going up to Mount Cook, what that was like living in the motorhome, as well as driving the roads here in New Zealand. And the bottom videos here with the New Zealand playlist. Everything from going out to Glenorchy on a day trip to going to Milford Sound, the pros and the cons, whether you should do that trip and whether it's overrated, whether it'd be right for you. And you all know what to do for the next video. Do not forget to explore more, and I'll see you there.
Don't wander, explore here.
Exactly.